Hey guys, welcome back. In this video, let's attempt to create a young girl that is, I'm not really sure exactly the age, but something that is and elegant and, pretty, right? So for this exercise, what I did is I grabbed this reference just to give us some kind of a basic understanding for proportions, right? To get started, let's just, instead of using a sphere, let's make sure that everyone can follow along. So for that reason, I'm going to go to my project and let's just grab this demo anime head that ZBrush gives us by default. And I think this is going to be a really good starting point for everyone to kind of follow along, right? All right, very cool. So let's just decide where do we want to start. So I'm going to personally start with the neck. And I think that's pretty good because I want my neck to be just a little bit longer and maybe a little more thinner. Again, I'm going for like a young female, so something like this I think is pretty good. Just make sure that we want to maintain some of these shapes to be kind of soft and elegant, right? Now looking at this, obviously there's not much chin, so let's just maybe give us a little more chin, and we have a nice curve here. We have a nice curve here, and it's kind of going into the chin, and I think that's nice. We can decide if we want the chin to kind of drop down like this, or if we want it to be more, more like this, right? So that's important. Keep a close eye on the tip of your nose, and maybe I don't want my nose pointing that much high up, but keep an eye on this piece here, and then we want to have kind of enough room for the lips, right? And the chin, we want to kind of be, kind of under the lips. So in this case, I think something like this should work. And if we wanted to, just give us a little more room for the lips. Now, I don't really want my chin to be this sharp. I think it would be nicer if this was a little softer. So I'm just gonna literally just go this way and just create kind of a little more of a fall off here, right? I don't want the lips. Well, I guess there is some kind of a indentation that we can follow, right? I'm not really sure if I want it to be. I think I want mine to be just a little bit lower, somewhere here. Okay. And let's see, and I definitely don't want the nose to be so pointy. So let's smooth this out. And if I want to get rid of that point right there, we could always grab something like the pinch and just literally just draw a line here and just get rid of that so it doesn't throw us off, right? All right, so it's already starting to look a little more custom. Okay, and let's just very slowly start kind of sculpting maybe the nose, right? So I'm gonna pull this up and do something like that. I want to keep it nice and elegant, so I'm gonna grab my clay buildup, and I do need a little room for nostrils. So for that, let's just add a little circle here and do Control drag. Really smooth this out a lot because we don't want this to be we want this to be kind of very soft and almost suggestive, right? We know that the nostril goes there, but we don't really want it to be holding down the Alt key. You can also trim this down. Keep that in mind. So it depends what kind of nose you're going for, but holding down the Alt key can always trim underneath the nose as well, right? Just a little bit. I can also grab the move brush, and of course I can just pull this up. Kind of tuck this in a little more. And as I'm doing this, I can also grab clay buildup and start holding down the Alt key. I can just create a couple nostrils there. If I press 1, it's going to really push it in. And I do want to maintain kind of this line here, right? So let's not lose that. And we want to maintain kind of this connection here, right? We don't want to lose that. That's important. Z remesh. Let's soften this up. And now, since we have kind of all the pieces in, we can try to make it a little more elegant, right? So if I make this smaller and push this up, right? And I can push this in, maybe. I'm starting to see kind of some strangeness there, so I can redynamesh, and I'll just smooth this out. Okay, but again, I'm just keeping it, oops, I'm keeping it nice and soft, right? Nothing too dramatic, right? I don't want to have big kind of wrinkles or anything like an old man wrinkles, but we do want to emphasize a few of these important shapes, okay? All right, very cool. So we have that. Next, let's just maybe decide where we want our lips to be. For the lips, I'm just gonna do inflate, and let's just do like a little inflate right there. Let's grab Damien Standard, and we don't want the lips to go, you know, all the way out here. That's too big. Let's keep it just a little past the nose, and let's just do something like that, right? So we have like a little, you know, like a little smile. So it starts here and then goes up and then in. And make sure you don't have like a strange connection in there, right? So you want to make sure the part inside is nice and smooth, okay? And then do something like this for the bottom. All right, so now we have something that looks really, really strange. I know that. Let's go ahead and redynamesh, and now what we could do is let's grab our inflate brush and let's just start inflating these lips up. And also I'm going to inflate this as well. All right, I'm gonna redynamesh. Let me smooth this out, and now I can go back with my move brush and adjust any kind of proportions that I feel are necessary. For example, you know, the bottom lip seems way too large, right? I also want to maintain this kind of a M, so I'm gonna do that. And for these lips here, I want to make sure that I gotta pull this maybe out a little more. And definitely make them a little higher, right? All right, if we wanted to clean something up, we can always do trim dynamic on like really low intensity, and we can literally just start pressing things in, right? So maybe, you know, there's valleys or sharp points that you don't like. You can just very slowly kind of file them down. And this will also allow us to create maybe some more additional planes, you know, if we want. And I'm going to do the same thing for the top lip. If I want to clean this up here, I can always do a couple things, right? I can do, I can always pinch this in. All right, I can also grab the Damien Standard and just kind of go back and forth between, let's just redynamesh this. And let's just go from the end and just kind of emphasize this one more time, right? Again, just kind of maintaining that M shape. Okay, if we wanted to, we can also smooth this out. We can grab something like the inflate brush, hold down the Alt key, and just add this shape here to our lip. Okay, I think that's important. Let's go ahead and smooth the nose out, and I'm going to grab my Damien Standard, and I want to maintain kind of this sharpness here. All right, very nice. If we wanted to add a little detail to the lips, we could do that. Let's grab our standard brush. We can do drag rectangular, and let's grab this Alpha 61. And now what I could do is let me dial this down to maybe 15. And how about 20, 22. And let's just add a little detail to our lips. Okay, so I can do that very quickly. I can smooth this out. If something is super bumpy, I can hold on the Alt key and just maybe press it in and almost like file it down, right? So if you have any big bumps, you could do that. So there's like a bump here, I can hold on the Alt key and just really press this in, right? You can see the result. And you can do it by creating kind of a smaller additions, right? So it's almost like sculpting and filing it down at the same time. So you can decide, you know, what makes sense. All right, so now we got the nose, we have the lips, and next let's maybe add some eyes, right? Now for the eyes, I'm gonna do, let's just grab inflate, and let's just simply, for now, I'm gonna hold on the Alt key and press this in. And because this is a stylized character, I don't want the eyes to be too close together, right? So make sure you kind of do in the middle or almost, you know, a little further away. And of course we can always adjust this as well. Next, let's go ahead and decide if we like how this is feeling. I think it would be fun if this was out a little more. And these little adjustments are super important, so don't rush with these, right? You want to really take your time and make sure that it feels nice and kind of elegant, right? And then you want to grab the inflate and then see if you decide, you know, if you want to add maybe a little cheeks. All right, for the eyes, I'm gonna go ahead and insert a sphere, and let's just simply scale it and put it into place. Do something like that, okay? I think this works. Let's turn it into a Dynamesh. So I'm going to put it 256. I'm going to re-Dynamesh. I'm going to polish it, and then I'm going to mirror it and mirror and weld. So now I have two of them. And now before we do anything else, let's go back to our mesh. And now let's just add some kind of shape to our eyes, right? So for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my brushes, and let's grab this curve strap snap. And let's just simply draw in, and let's see what it looks like, right? Let's just start drawing in kind of the top lid. And maybe it would actually be helpful if we hid our head, and let's just simply create a top lid that looks kind of like this. I think that is exactly what I was looking for. So I'm gonna go ahead and commit to that. And now let's just simply split this into a unmasked, right? So it has its own layer, and that's great. I'm gonna go back to the eyeball layer, and now what I would like to do is I'm gonna create one for the bottom lid as well. And if you wanted to extend something, we can always do that by extending that out. Maybe we need it to be a little bit longer. All right, so now I'm gonna click to commit, and now I have kind of these two eyelids that don't look really good right now, but that's okay because we can, let's go ahead and unhide this. And let's just also split this into unmasked. So now we have both eyelids by themselves, right? Let's just simply sculpt this into something that we like. So I'm gonna grab my move brush, and I'm just gonna start adjusting this, right? And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move this into position. All right, so we can also press Alt key, go to the top lid, and maybe do the same thing. We can just adjust it, and then go between kind of the top and the bottom and see, you know, what makes sense and what we like. Obviously this doesn't look good, so I'm gonna maybe do something like that, kind of overlap it, right? And maybe I want to move this up a little more, maybe move this down. I'm just gonna adjust this as you wish, right? All right, once I get this to something that I like, I'm gonna go ahead and select the head, but I wanna make sure that I don't have this big space there. So what I would like to do is I would like to move some of this down so it feels a little more natural. So let's just attempt to move in some of this head mesh closer to the top lid, right? So something like that I think is good. And we can decide the same thing here. Maybe I want to now what I would like to do is I would like to subdivide this, but I want to maintain these sharp lines, right? So how do I do that? Well, if I click on this line, right? The best thing I could do before I subdivide it, if I press Ctrl D right now, you see that I lose these lines, right? But if we turn our polyframe on with the lines, let's make sure the lines are on. Let's go ahead and crease these, right? So I'm going to go to ZModeler, and hovering over the edge, I'm going to press spacebar, and I'm going to go to crease, and let's just do edge loop complete. That's fine. I'll just click here. We can also go to solo, and let's just crease this here, and let's just decide if we want to, you know, crease the edges just in case, right? I can even, these are already creased. All right, so that's looking good. Let's check out these. And I just want to make sure that it's all creased so it's going to maintain its sharpness, right? Very cool. Let's go jump out of the solo. I can press F, by the way, if I wanted to jump out. And now, if we jump out of the polyframe and press Ctrl D, I'm going to press it a few times. How many times? 5. So I'm on subdivision 5. And you can see how all of this became super smooth, but this is super sharp. And that's exactly what I wanted to maintain. So let's do the same thing with this one. I'm going to press Alt and Tab to select it. I'm still in ZModeler, so then I can go to solo and do the same thing. I'm just gonna crease, let's just see what's going on here. I'm gonna crease this, and I'm gonna crease all of these as well. And yeah, all of that is creased as well. Okay, great. Jump out of the polyframe, jump out of the solo, and again, Control D. Let's go 5 times as well, right? So now we have something like this. This is our chance to do any final touch-ups. If something doesn't look even, or if you want to adjust something, you could do that. Maybe I want to make this a little more round, right? Now, how do I infuse this subdivided mesh with a Dynamesh 256? Well, I'm going to have to turn this into Dynamesh, right? So let's go ahead and do that. We need to first be 100% certain that we like what we are ended up with. And now I'm looking at it. I think it's going to be nicer if this was more like this. I think that's a little bit better. It's a little more natural, right? And I can fix that eye in there. That's fine. But I think I like this better. So this one kind of overlaps, and then this one kind of meets together. But again, it's just a stylized character, so it doesn't really matter. All right, I'm going to delete. Let's go ahead and delete lower on both. Right, I'm going to delete it lower on this one and this one, and I'm going to turn it into also Dynamesh, but I'm going to do a 512 Dynamesh. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Let's do the same thing with this one. Make sure it's at 512 and re-Dynamesh. Okay, now they are both Dynamesh. Come back here. This is still 512. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this lid and move it up, and move this lid up, and then grab this head, and I'm just going to literally just merge it down. So I'm going to go to merge down, and I'm going to say okay. Okay, and now since they are merged, I can go drag and re-Dynamesh. All right, now we can very carefully go in and smooth this out. And I want to do it in such a way where I'm not really messing up the edges or the corners of my eyes, right? I just want to do the actual connection piece. So let's go ahead and do that very carefully. Like I'm not doing this, right? I'm not smoothing out the edges. I'm just doing the ends here. All right. Very cool. And now, obviously, I have a couple touch-ups that I personally need to do. And one of them is this here. It doesn't look very even. So I could do a couple touch-ups. Let's just decide if we like this. I think this looks pretty nice, right? Now, how do I get this over to the other side? Well, I'm going to do a mirror weld. And now I have them on both sides. All right, so once you do your touch-ups and you are happy with your sculpt, let's go ahead and move on to the ears. So for the ears, I'm going to, let's just move this out a little more. And let's just do something as simple as grab the inflate, and I just want to make them just a little more interesting, right? So maybe I want to make them a little more round, right? Let's just inflate all of this here, and we don't need to add kind of a realistic ear detail, but I do want to make sure that these feel a little more round, a little more full, right? Let's add this detail here. And we can grab our move brush and let's maybe move this in. All right, I'm going to inflate the bottom, right, in case we want to add maybe, you know, some kind of earrings or something, and decide if we like that, and if we wanted to, we can also change the shape. It just feels a little too small, right? Maybe something like that feels pretty good. If we wanted to do some simple earrings, let's just simply insert a ring, and we could do a ring, right? Or we can go to settings and do a ring here instead. And this is nice because then we can also change the subdivision, right? Maybe we want to do more something like that. We can change the radius, right? We could do that. Let's go to Gizmo. Let me just scale this down a little bit. And let's go ahead and just put it in position. So maybe rotate it and do something like that. All right, let's take a look. I think that looks pretty good. We can also do Control D to subdivide this, you know, if we wanted to get rid of that edges. If we want to maintain those sharp edges, same thing, right? Go to Z Modeler and let's just simply crease this edge here. And let's go ahead and crease this edge and this crease this edge. All right, I think that's pretty good. Let's go to geometry and I'm going to delete lower and I'm going to flip it over. So now I have two of them, right? Very nice. Let's go ahead and do a BPR and see what we got. All right, so next, there's a few more things we can do, right? Let's go ahead and add some pupils just as a kind of a sculptural placeholder. So for that, I'm going to grab my eyes, standard. I'll do this alpha 14 and let's just do a sub and let's just do like 60, and let's just really push this in. And we can decide on the size of the pupils, but I think the larger they are, the more kind of cartoony and appealing it is. And let's do one in the middle as well, and press 1 a few times, just a couple times. All right, so now we have this. Next, let's go ahead and add some eyebrows. For the eyebrows, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to press Alt and select my mesh and go into my brushes and grab this curve strap. All right, so let's decide what kind of eyebrows we want. Let's say I like something like this, that's fine. Another thing I can do is I can go to Stroke, Curve Modifiers. I can go to Fall Off, and I can turn on the size. And now if I tap on this, you can see what's happening, right? It's using this graph to make the brows, right? So what I could do here is, for example, I can flip this vertically, and if I tap it again, you can see it's going the other way, right? And normally when you are creating eyebrows, especially stylized eyebrows, the ends are going to be sharp, and then the front is going to be kind of flat, right? So we can decide if we like this. We can also, of course, adjust these and maybe reposition it, maybe put them kind of in the better place, right? Something like that I think is pretty good. Let's go ahead and click and see if we like this. If we do, that's great. That means we can also grab our move brush, and if you want to do any more, touch-ups as far as the placement goes, you could do that. Maybe you want to bring in this down a little, do something like this so it feels a little more like a eyebrow. Okay, so I think that's pretty good. There's infinite ways you can create these, right? Let's see, what else can we do? So another thing we can do is, obviously, we want to maybe subdivide these so they stay smooth. But again, just like we keep doing, let's make sure we go to Z Modeler, and if we, I'm going to go to Split. I'm going to do Split on Mask, so I have these on by themselves. I'm going to go to Solo, and let me just crease this edge, this edge. Let's go ahead and crease this edge and maybe the back one as well. And if we press Ctrl D, we can see how it's looking, right? To be a little better, I'm actually not happy with what is happening here, so I can do Control Shift. I can go to my quick pick. I can always grab something like the knife curve, and I can just simply slice this to make it a little more even if I wanted to. And for that, I need to make sure I delete my subdivision levels. Now let's just clean this up a little, okay? And I think that looks a little bit nicer, right? Let's jump back out of the Solo and take a look. All right, I think that's nice. Let's go ahead and preview. Next, definitely need some eyelashes, right? So for eyelashes, I'm gonna click Alt and click on my character, and let me just do a couple touch-ups here. All right, so now let's do some eyelids, right? So for the eyelids, let's do the same thing. I'm gonna go to brushes. I'm gonna grab my curve strap, and I'm gonna really zoom in a lot, and going from the beginning of the eye and going kind of towards the end of the eye, right? And we could also change some of this here, right? So we can change our graph to be maybe something a little more like this. And take a look. So now that's going to be a much better looking eyelid. Okay. All right. Once we are done, let's go ahead and click to commit to it. And of course, we can use our move brush to maybe make it look just a little bit better, right? If it's if needed. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep it in kind of a low poly mode. And the reason for that is because I want to extract it, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Z Modeler, And before we do anything else, let's also go to split, and we'll do split unmasked. So now we have this by itself, right? All right, now we can even solo this and take a look and see what's going on here. So what I would like to do is I'm going to turn on my polyframe, and I'm going to hover over these, and I am in Q mesh. So I'm going to hold on the Alt key and just tap on the faces that I want to kind of pull out or extrude. So maybe all of these. Let's go ahead and do the same thing with these as well. So essentially I'm just changing the polygroup color, right? And all of this, and you know what? Let's just grab this guy as well. All right, so all of these. So now I want to pull them out. I'm going to jump out of the solo mode so I could see. I'm going to go back into Q mesh, and this time let's do polygroup all. And I'm just going to simply take this and pull this out. And essentially what I'm doing is I'm creating like a long eyelash, right? That is, you can decide how long you want this to be. Maybe that's a little too long, but we can just decide what makes sense. Let's do, let's crease them as well. So I'm going to crease them, and I'm going to crease this one, and I'm going to crease this one. Okay. And let's go ahead and crease the back ones as well. So I'm going to grab both of these. Now if I press Control D, and let's see how many times I did that. I did that 6 times. So that's fine. I'm going to delete lower. I'm going to jump out of solo. And now what I would like to do is I want to make a cut right here, right? So I'm going to Control Shift, grab my knife, and let's just do a cut from here. I'm going to press Alt 1 time and create kind of like this nice curve. And let's go from here to, I'm going to press Alt 1 more time to create another point. And let's just do something like this. Okay. And now if we wanted to clean this up, we could do it one more time. Maybe make it just a little better angle. All right, I can grab my move brush, and maybe, you know, maybe I want to shape this a little better. You can decide if you like these or if you want to do more cleanup. For example, I could see I should probably clean this up and just make sure that you don't have any kind of strange wobbly areas or surfaces, right? Let's go ahead and do something like that. So it's just super clean and polished, right? All right, let's say I like this. We could do the same thing if you want to the bottom. And, you know, that's just a kind of a stylistic choice, right? If you don't want to make it too complicated, maybe this is enough. Okay, so on my end, the one other thing that I did, I just did that, is I just pulled out the ends, and I think that is really cool. And maybe if I wanted to, I can also go to clay polish, right? And I can actually make sure that these are selected. And if I polish them, I can turn them to be a little more angular. So it's one of the cool tricks is to use clay polish to add kind of more edginess to a shape. So in this case, you can see my eyelids. If I do that, it's going to create kind of this really nice sharp edge. Especially if you turn something into Dynamesh and keep it in Dynamesh mode, clay polish is really amazing. It's also amazing for rocks and stuff as well. But I'm kind of happy with this. I think that's it's pretty cool. The next step is let's just add some hair to this character, right? And I'll give you the brush that I'm going to be using for the hair. I'm planning on just using this MD, you know what, I changed my mind. I'm gonna use this DE HairTubes by Dylan, and you can see the link. He even has a website, dylanekren.com, but I'll include a link in the description. So I'm gonna use this brush, okay, for the hair. So let's go ahead and select this, assuming that you'll use the same, or maybe you have your own that you like. But what I would like to do is, instead of building the hair in active symmetry, I'm going to turn this off, and I'll just do one side and just flip it over. I think that would be the most efficient way of doing it. And also, if I do that, that would be really cool if I knew where the center was, right? And I can kind of see, but just for the sake of assisting us, if you want to follow the same kind of method, what we could do is we can temporarily draw a line. Let's go ahead and turn the symmetry back on. But we can draw a line in the middle, and this line is not going to stay there. So we can always go, we can always undo it, right? We're in full control of this line. But this line is going to tell us where the middle of the head is. So for that reason, just for a little bit, let me leave it here. And let's just select our brush again. And we have all these cool options here. We have something called thick A, thick B, multi-thick. Let's see what's going on here. So I'm gonna just do let's try this multi one, right? Okay. And I'm not planning on doing anything super crazy. I just want to do kind of a basic straight hair, right? So obviously this is going to be her forehead. So coming, and again, I'm going to turn off my symmetry. But I want to go from like here and just create straight hair just coming down like this. And that's not working, so let me try this again. And that is a little bit better. Okay. I like this. We can move the shape by grabbing the path, right? You could see that. That's really cool. And maybe I don't want it to, grab her head exactly like that. Okay, so we can adjust this by dragging this path, right? We can see what we like. All right, I'm kind of happy with this. So let's see what's the next step. So once you put that in place, let's go ahead and click to get rid of the line, and now it's kind of baked in. We can also, if you wanted to, you can go to geometry, and in geometry, where's geometry? Geometry, you can turn on something called dynamic subdivision, okay, and turn that on. And you can also change the subdivision levels, but this is going to give you a really nice, clean preview of the hair, right? And what I would like to do next is I actually want to separate this from the mesh. So I'm going to go to split, and let's do split on masked, right? So this first strand that we put down is going to be by itself. I'm going to grab my move brush, and I'm going to kind of start getting this into something a little more appealing, something that I like. And we can decide, how far we want this hair to be. And it's really cool, right? With the brush, you can create these curls that are really pretty. And this is a really cool hairbrush. So I would like to start moving it towards the middle, and that's why I drew that line there, right? So I can start creating something that looks like it's coming from the top, and then just pulling this in. And maybe if I make this a little bit smaller, I can start controlling the curves a little bit better, and you can see what I'm doing, right? I'm creating, kind of deciding where the hair starts, and just pulling this in, okay? And something along these lines, I think, is what I was looking for. All right. Now, here's the cool part. We used something called a multi-thick A, right? So multi-thick A means this strands comes with multiple strands. It's not just one solid one. You can see there's like all these different ones. And if I turn on my polyframe, you can see what that looks like if you say auto groups. If you say auto groups, you can see that there's actually quite a few. 1, 2, 3, at least 4, right? different polygroups. And that means that if we turn our mask by polygroups on, and if you don't see the slider on your UI, that's located in brush auto masking, right? So if you turn this on, this works perfectly with this hairbrush. So now if I go back to move with the mask by polygroups on, right, I can individually control each hair. So I can start grabbing one and I can start pulling it around and separating them. And that is amazing because it's going to very quickly create an illusion of complexity, even though we didn't really do much, right? We just used one brush, but it's going to give us this really cool control over individual hair strands. And that's the reason I like this brush, and that's why I'm using it in this situation, right? So we could do something like that. Now, before we mess it up too much, I want to make sure that it makes sense, because if I flip this over, and you can also see, you got to be careful, right? Because if you look closely, you can see some of this doesn't make sense. Like this hair is going through the other hair. So this is part where you can't really rush. You kind of have to take your time and move these pieces around in such a way where it makes sense, right? So maybe this one's going to be here. Do something like that. And you can see now that they're not overlapping, right, as much. All right, and then of course, if I wanted to, I can always duplicate this and mirror it over to the other side. And now I have two of them. And the cool thing about this is that now they are in separate layers, right? Which means I can control each one and maybe make something unique, right? Maybe I don't want to make it look like it's exactly the same on both sides. So maybe I can move this one over and do something like that. And now it's just a matter of putting the time in and putting the hair into place. And then of course, now since I know where the middle of the head is, maybe I don't need this line anymore. I can do Alt click on my head and I can go back, actually get rid of that line. So I'm gonna go back here. And then at this point, I can also click on this. And if I want to move them all together, all you have to do is just dial this back down and then you can move these around, right? So you can do something like that. You know, whatever you like. But now using this technique, let me just go ahead and fill out the rest of the hair, and then we can see if anything else needs to be added. But I think the hair is going to be the last kind of step in this process. But even this right here already looks much nicer, right? Alright, you guys, I'm going to stop here. And hair is a lot of fun, so you can just take thicker pieces and thinner pieces and decide how much you want to play around with it, how much, you know, how thick you want it, how dense you want it, but you kind of get the idea. So this is as far as I'm going to take it. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you had a lot of fun creating your character, and I'll see you in our next video.